indecis artist-run space that is now nomadic. Thanks Sergiu and Mimi for helping out. Thanks Vlad for doing all the cosmic cocktails. And I also have to announce a couple of workshops for tomorrow. So please join the workshop of Vladan and Rena, Partisans in Space. They are here. So tomorrow they will have the workshop in this same space, and you are gladly welcome to draw and think about collective comics with them. So now I'm gonna present our next speaker. Miloš Petrik is a Serbian author. Petric is a Serbian, yeah, it's okay. Petrik is a Serbian author, translator, and lawyer. He has worked in traditional media, audiobooks, and computer game production. Ran the online edition of Serbia's oldest fanzine, and published 2 collections of short stories and a novel. He will have a presentation titled The Serbian Front from the Fringe to the Mainstream.
Hello, lovely seeing you here. So for my presentation, we'll be talking to you about the Serbian sci-fi fandom and how it all spilled over into various kinds of mainstream art and creative industries and production. So this is it. It all does not start with this man. This man is called Lazar Komarčić, and he was long thought to have been the author of Serbia's first sci-fi work. It has, we have since found out that he is not the author of Serbia's oldest sci-fi work, but he did give his name to Serbia's oldest sci-fi association, the Lazar Komarčić Sci-Fi Association, that was founded in 1980. So he was a contemporary of A.G. Wells, but he wrote more in the tradition and style of spiritism and cosmism of the early 20th century. His works are available in Serbian, not available in other languages in so much as I know. You can read them if you can read Serbian. I don't recommend them. They are very old-fashioned. They are about a guy who listens to this lecture about the stars, and the spirit of the philosopher Laplace comes to him in his dreams and takes him on an adventure into space. On page 1, the guy doesn't know anything about the stars. On page 3, he knows everything and comments on it. But it fits very well the cheap sort of pulp style of the time. And he did write the first prose works in Serbian, so we give him credit for that. Now, the oldest Serbian sci-fi association, the Lazar Komarčić Association, does things like weekly meetings and talks about anything related to sci-fi and other sort of genres like fantasy and horror. They publish the oldest continuously published fanzine in Serbia. This is the Emitor or Emitter. You can see some of the title pages over there. One is very old, the others are fairly recent, and the one on the bottom left is the title page for the 500th edition, which is just today come out of print. I have photographic proof of that. But other than that, the society does film screenings or does book promotions and talks, and when the film screenings and the book promotions and talks are done, everybody up sticks and goes to a local cafe to drink beer and do some more sci-fi talk and we're usually home by 4 in the a.m. So that's what happens on a weekly basis. So if you're in Belgrade on a Monday and you're of the sci-fi inclination, come to the Youth Culture Center and we'll sort you out. Now, this guy's name is George Lobachev. He was a Russian immigrant in the 1920s, and he started the what's known as the Belgrade Circle. It was a gathering of comic book artists, and he basically started the comic book scene in Serbia. And now, well, 100 plus years later, we have sort of, well, first there was the Belgrade Circle number 2, which was a gathering of the students of his students. But now one of them has a school called the George Lobachev School for Comic Books and Concept Art. And that school has recently celebrated 30 years of work, and like if you live in Belgrade and you have a child, they can attend the school, and the school produces some of our best comic book artists, some of our best storyboard artists, some of our best concept artists who now work as pros in computer games and in the film industry, and as well as comic book artists as well. This is about film. So Serbia does not have a tradition of genre film as such, with the possible exception of the She Butterfly. The She Butterfly was a film by Đorđe Kadijević. That's the shot from She Butterfly. It's like a vampire film. You can see it on YouTube, and I do recommend that you see it on YouTube. For a child growing up in Yugoslavia in the 80s, it was the stuff of nightmares. But, you know, you have to see it for what it is. It's a made-for-TV film from the 1970s, but it still holds up. I do like it. One other possible exception is the Gosti from Gosti iz Galaksije, so guests from the galaxy, which is a rare example of a state-funded socialist sci-fi film. I do not recommend you watch it, even if you can find it. So it is a film. However, in the early 2000s, a couple of people gathered around and said, look, we wanted to start a film festival that celebrates the genre film. So what they did was they founded the Festival Srpskog filma Fantastika, the Festival of Serbian Fantasy Film, and they asked, they made an open call for contributions. They asked all sorts of people to contribute all sorts of films. These people were also involved in makeup and special effects, and they were also involved in the local trash film festival. So they organized a festival for which they would screen anything that was in any way horror, sci-fi, or fantasy. They got over 200 submissions for the first festival in 2006. It was supposed to be in 2005, but things got delayed. So they had 2 festivals in 2006, and since then it's been an annual thing. I will now play the first film, sort of jingle for the festival. So during those first years, they received over 200 submissions of student films that were made on professional equipment with reused film stock from the 1980s on. And later, people, especially film students, started filming, making films, especially to be screened at the festival. So now you have like a small community of film students who every year send a little bit of something for the festival itself. The festival awards this award. It's called the Oskol, and it's awarded to in several categories. And now they have the mini Oskol from this year on for creators younger than 18 years old, because of course now everybody usually has like one HD camera in their pocket at any time. I have two, and my passport. But yeah, so the festival is international. So if you want to participate, if you have any kind of a short film that will fit the criteria, and if they put up their website again, you can submit it for next year's festival, and I do encourage you to do so. It's a lot of fun. My next clip is the show reel for the 2012 festival, which is my personal favorite. I've seen most of everything that was shown, but here it is. So yeah. Believe it or not, a lot of the people who appear in some of these clips are professional actors, and a lot of the people who produced some of these films are now professional filmmakers. They haven't improved much. Now, moving on to the comic books, I'm giving this as a way of example. Now, 1990s in Serbia were not a very good time. We were under UN sanctions, and you were hard-pressed if you wanted to print anything, because most of the printing paper was imported, for one thing. But some people wanted to revive a comic book scene of a sort, and I've chosen, by way of example only, Mr. Milan Konjevic, who wrote the Generation Tesla comic book. So now the comic book had 8 issues in 1995-96, and then was discontinued. But it got him, he's a writer, he was a writer for the Generation Tesla comic book. It's very good. It concerns Nikola Tesla, like possibly the most famous Serbian who is not a tennis player or convicted of war crimes. And he didn't actually die in 1943 as he did, but he transferred himself into another realm. And in that other realm, he fought the evil genius Cobalt. And he realized that Cobalt was a danger for humanity, so he made superheroes out of people that were killed by Cobalt. So basically, he resurrects like these 6 or 7 people and makes them superheroes. And they are quite unique looking. And the story itself is interesting to read. Except it was never finished, which is a shame. The comic book ended after 8 issues, citing distribution problems. That usually means somebody asked for money and they just didn't have it. But what happened next with Mr. Konjevic is he finished film school and he started working with foreign production studios, like usually low budget. And now you have seen Hollywood films, so sometimes you can sort of look at a shot of a Hollywood film and say, like, this is not London. This is obviously Budapest or Prague or something. And now Belgrade is getting in on the deal because the other Eastern European capitals will play it out, and they also started getting Serbian assistant directors and writers to participate in these low-budget productions. The most recent one that I sort of liked was The Rift, and I will now show you the trailer for it. It's a sci-fi horror story. If you can find it on any streaming platform, watch it. It's fine. It's not genius, but it's good. Oh, by the way, unless I say otherwise, I do personally recommend most of what I will be showing you.
We were collecting soil samples during a routine EVA when it happened. That's when I saw it. It was beautiful.
Good morning, Agent Wade. It's time for you to get back into the field. The mission is a simple data recovery. You'll be working with Agent John Smith. He's a little unconventional.
Crashed somewhere around here, about 100 kilometers north of Belgrade.
NASA.
Right on top of where the satellites should have hit. You should be staring right at it.
Perhaps whoever lives in that house found the wreckage, the transmitter, and brought it back.
Let's go ask him.
Criminal, mad scientist, and you, Agent Smith. Not exactly the A-team.
The task was to geological samples in the dark side of the moon.
He must have known there's no satellite here at all. I saw something outside.
We believe it had to be a rift in space.
Are you either with me, or are you against me?
We need to get out of here.
You shouldn't fear anything here, because here, death is dead.
Yeah, so there is that. And now, the reason why I picked Mr. Koinovic out as an example out of, well, several, I won't say many, is that he's a working professional who started off as an amateur comic book writer, and now his brainchild, his passion project, Generation Tesla, is going to be a television series. It's in production. I've contacted him, and I was explicitly forbidden to show any of the concept art for the thing because it's still in the early stages of production, but it'll come up on streaming, and well, if it's anything like the comic book, it's going to be at least good. So I do recommend you sort of check it out. In the meantime, watch The Rift. It's sort of like Event Horizon, but very low budget and not as scary. More movies? Yes, we have more movies. These are from the past 10 years. The Warrior of Shaitan by Stefan Filipovic is like a sort of magical battle meets Revenge of the Nerds. Like a couple of nerds find an old magical book. It is on streaming platforms. I don't know exactly which. Find it, watch it, it's good. I loved it when I was 20. And Tears for Sale is, again, like a weird fantasy romance melodrama with a decent budget. So we have a sort of, or we used to have, like 10 years ago, a sort of a way into the mainstream for people who wanted to do fantasy and sci-fi and horror. They could get like decent budgets for Serbia, and they could produce decent projects. Also, probably the most famous recent project is Adelasia Rising, which was adapted by a short story from a short story by Zoran Nešković. And if Vlad is here, maybe he'll do. He can have whoever did his lovely patches to copy some of the mission patches that was designed for this film. I think it'd be cool. It got a lot of attention because the star of the film is Jessica Stedinovic, known by her stage name Stoja, who's an adult film star. And the plot of the film is very cliche. It's like you have an astronaut on a long-term mission, and he sort of needs company, and things get complicated. It's a cliche plot, but the film was reasonably well executed, and it comes recommended from me personally. Then moving back to publishing, you have the Art Anima Association, which started off as a website, and then they have sort of, after publishing a lot of fantasy and sci-fi related news, they started publishing their magazine, and then they caught the attention of a mainstream publishing company, and now their sort of fantasy magazine is a big mainstream event that gathers actual media attention, and they are probably the best example of the fandom leaking into the mainstream in Serbia, insofar as I can tell. And we also have the AVKF, which is the Serbian acronym for the Hitchhiker's Guide to Fantasy. And they do a similar thing. They did they were a news website, and then they became a minor publishing house in their own right. Well, their stated mission is to support Serbian authors of fiction, specifically science fiction, fantasy, and horror. But then they decided they would try and publish books. They made an open call. It was not rigged in any way, so they published one book, And then they use the proceeds from that book to publish the next and the next and the next. So their editions look professional, even though they are sort of fan-made, but they're decently produced. And they are probably one of the most popular publishers of Serbian science fiction and fantasy that I can think of. And now we come to animation. Now, there is a school of animation in Belgrade that belongs to the Faculty of Applied Arts, and there's a lot of people who attend it. But the guy who made the first feature-length Serbian anime, I think, did not attend it. He did attend the George Lobachev School of Comic Book Art, and Edith and I is now available on Prime. If you have Prime, do watch it. It is very interesting, and I will now play a trailer for it. So this is about a philosophy student who injects herself with an illegal microchip in order to learn better. Things get complicated.
Šta je? Nemoj da mi kažeš da se mi ideš zbog ispita.
Ma ugino je o tom.
Ma nemoj. Pa kako?
I'm guessing
Pokupio je neki
Amazon
radio
has
virus.
subtitles.
Samo je počeo da peva neku arapsku pesmu i pao.
Isto kao i roboti u filmu mog brata.
Da, samo što on njih može da formatira kako hoće. Ja sam samo mogla da ga odnesem na groblje robota i sahranika.
Her pet robot died.
Ti si ubolala.
Vremenske prilike su sasvim odgovarale mom malom morbidnom izletu. Čak sam mu napravila i mali nadgrobni spomenik.
They said you weren't alive, now they are finally right. That's what the epitaph says.
Znao sam da će ti se dopasti. A pazi ovo.
Čekaj, šta je ovo dobiješ za 30 dinđi?
A, ne, ovo je za prave igrače. 50 dinđi, brate.
Slušaj, Vu, nemam ja ništa protiv plastike, šta više, ali ipak mislim da nekad treba da se savataš sa pravim mesom.
Pa što, brate? Nema nikakve razlike. A ne jede, ne ide u bioskop, ne upoznajete s roditeljima, ne kenja za vreme PMS-a.
I ostavlja veliku prazninu kad svršiš.
To ako si romantična budala koja svoju energiju hoće da izbacuje na emocije. Ali ako te posao dovoljno ispunio, ovo ti dođe ko električni masažer. Na kraju, ko još ide da sluša muziku uživo kad imaš dinamički zapis na disku?
To si upravo, ali to idu uglavnom oni koji neće da jebu lutke.
Oho, kad smo kod lutke.
Odmah se vidi da je položila, vidi kako je vesela.
A da ja ipak rezervišem jednu i za tebe, a?
Pa evo, vidi se da me ne poznaješ. Ovo je pravi izazov. U ostalom, ako i ne uspem, uvek mogu da je zajebavam što je roknula ispit.
U tom sportu vam već ne bi pravio društvo.
Zašto?
I suviše stresno za nekog ko je navikao da mu partnerka samo govori kako ga voli i kako i niko nije tako dobro. Znaš već šta. Ćao.
Aj, ćao.
There's that. And now we move on to the recent past. So, as recently as early this year, a collective of comic book artists known as Stripotetke was founded, and it consists of Jana Damovic, Dragana Radanovic, Danica Jevđević, and Ana Milojković. You can see some of their work here. They were founded around a project that started off during COVID times, or the year of the plague, as we call it, and it consists of comic book commentary about the unpaid labor that falls on to mostly women. who get to stay in the house and do some extra chores. But then another thing happened on accident. One of the popular youth newspapers, rather the only one we still have that still has a print edition, found out that it was the 50th anniversary of the first issue of Hagar the Horrible. You know Hagar the Horrible. And they invited 15 comic book artists to contribute professionally made, basically, fan art to the project. The trouble was, they only invited men. And now one of these women sort of rebelled and said, look, you can't do this. This is, like, why haven't you invited any women? And the editorial staff replied remarkably cannily, saying, we wanted the best. Now, whichever way you look at it, like either by the number of awards won or issues inked or penned or years of professional work in comic books, either way you cut it, at least about 6 or 7 women are going to be found in the top 15 of the best, and that caused a massive backlash, and that caused a lot of cool fan art. So this picture of Helga is one of those. You can get it as a signed print by the author, and it hangs in my kids' room, among other things. But at least 2 of the women who who now act as stripotetke or comic book aunties have been alumni of the Lobachev School, and at least 3 of them have done talks for the Lazar Komerci Society. So maybe you now see where I'm sort of going. In terms of viral art, you have probably seen this image, or you may have seen this image. It went viral maybe 7 years ago or something like that. Like this image of a baby platypus. Everybody thought it was very cute. One problem, that is not a baby platypus. That is a model that was made out of polymer clay by a comic book artist, who's a very good friend of mine. And he did it as a sort of a lark, as a sort of art project, a passion project, and he went viral. This little thing is possibly the most well-known Serbian work of art worldwide. And it was made by a guy who sort of wanted to do something cute. He is my former colleague, my current friend. He works as a video game artist, and I will now play you a trailer for one of the video games he worked at, or for, or he helped make it. He produced it.
Peggy 12.
Personal log, sentient contact assessment and response team. Cyan. Where am I? What planet is this? Did the metahedron bring us here? How far would you go?
So Scars Above is an original Serbian IP and a professionally made computer game, and it's quite good. So now, it may surprise you to think this is not an actual shot from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. This is me making a point, and if I have a point, the point is, it's all connected. And what I mean by that is, all of the stuff you have seen is stuff that was made by people who started off as just fans, discussing fan things that they are passionate about, their passion projects, their works of art with their friends, in fandom associations, in pubs, in cafes, and so on. And if I have a message, it is like, do this is good. Get weird nerds together, get them to talk, get them to argue. Like these sort of things cross-pollinate. So, you know, when George Lobachev emigrated from Odessa as a child, he probably didn't imagine that one of his students will probably become the most famous anonymous Serbian artist of all time, thus far. But he did just want to make comic books, he did want to make illustrations, and just leave a body of work. So, if I have a point, the point is fan associations produce a venue for creatives to express themselves and to exchange views. They also produce a venue to be seen, to be mocked, to learn how to take it, to learn how to use it, and to get better. Well, now we have like a thriving video game industry in Serbia. And well, if there is a point, you know, just get nerds together, and decades later, it may positively impact your country's GDP. But it will also lead to people doing weird stuff that a lot of other people will eventually like. I've seen that I've forgotten to play the trailer for Edelezi Rising, which is the most recent sci-fi film, which I will do now before moving on to questions.
This mission will be different from our standard operating procedure. You need a companion, an opposite gender companion.
A woman.
Imani is our cyborg. Her performance is adjustable.
I have feelings for you, Imani.
If you uninstall the Tifa software, Nimani will still be bootable.
So she will turn into what?
She will become what you made of her.
She could become a person.
Your emotions are jeopardizing this investment of Edelezi Corporation.
You're just punishing me.
I hate you.
I'm not your captor. I'm your liberator.
You did not set me free.
Attention. Autopilot lost control over Jet Booster B.
You're not real. You're nothing to me.
So yeah, this just goes to show what generations upon generations of sort of cross-pollinating gatherings of fans and creatives can do in one small Eastern European country. Now, I do have some time for your questions if you have any. I know some of you have at least one question. It will be addressed immediately. This is what a real baby platypus looks like. So my friend didn't even try to model a realistic baby platypus. He just made a fantasy creature that went viral. So if you do have any questions or comments or curses or interjections or beratements and so on, please address them now. No comment? No comment is fine by me.
I was curious about the people who emigrated, in a sense of a lot of people just emigrated from Romania as well, I mean from the whole East. And I'm also curious about this brain drain, if it exists and how.
Well, it does exist, but I suppose the best sort of current employer for Serbian creatives might be the video game industry or the film industry. So when I was young, in the Pleistocene era, if like a friend of mine said, look, I'm trying to sort of get into the arts, I want to be an artist for a career, I would have gone, nah, unlikely. But now I see career opportunities for all kinds of visual artists in the video game industry, but also in the special effects industry, in the makeup industry, and in film as well, because the technology has changed and capitalism took another route. Brain drain does happen. One of my best friends is now a designer of computer games in France, and he started as a colleague at the studio who made Scars Above. But things like these will always happen. So money will always be a draw. But now we have competitive career opportunities for a lot of creatives who would otherwise have been at least underrated. Now, if you're a musical composer and you get a really good video game gig, you can do music that will be heard by millions of people, theoretically, without ever moving from Belgrade. And I'm not talking theoretically, really, I'm talking about actual people that I actually know. So the internet has done something to stave off some of the brain drain. And, to answer the other part of your question, recently I was at a promotion for the Art Anima magazine for their latest issue, because one of my stories appears in one of their latest issues. And the question from the audience was, is the Serbian language disappearing? Which is a weird sort of question to ask to a panel of people who like writing in the Serbian language and sort of make it their passion project at the very least. Some of them earn money for it. And made me realize that so long as there's a language that has two speakers, there will be literature in that language, because one speaker will tell stories to the other. So I don't think that the Serbian language is going to disappear anytime soon, and so the same goes for the Romanian language, and so on. The forces of the market are another matter, because the translation market is difficult, the foreign placement market is difficult, and so on and so forth. But you still have at least one guy who wanted to be a comic book writer and turned into an assistant director for B Hollywood movies, who will get his passion project comic book made into a medium budget TV series, and nobody ever suspected that. So keep doing stuff, some of it will stick, some of it will be commercially viable, and if you're commercially viable, that leaves you free to do other things that you like better. Please.
Can you see any kind of, I mean, in general, in this industry of fantasy and science fiction films, is there any, let's say, specificity of like a Serbian production or US production in terms of the stories? Can you see any kind of, let's say, imprint of the Serbian society in the stories of those films, or is it that it's in general actually always kind of the same stories, no matter where they're coming from? I'm speaking about the stories, not about the way of production.
I see what you mean, and that's a very good question, and it touches upon one of my pet peeves about the mainstream of the creative industries. For one, it all looks the same, and for another, the stories are kind of dumb. And the story is especially if it's dialogue heavy, the story is the easiest thing to get right. Writers are cheap. You can buy us for like maybe a case of beer, and you can get like a good writer to sort of go through all of that. But parts of the problems with domestic production is, and by domestic I mean Serbian production. I know I'm in Romania now, I forgot, but I know. It's the auteur-centered approach. So the director wants to be the boss of the film. The director doesn't care about the story as much as the writer does. So you get like a generic story, so long as the director gets their money shot, the thing that they want to show on the screen. What I do see is I don't want to say like an authentic Serbian expression, but there is a thing that sort of feels or smells Eastern European about a lot of art that was produced by Eastern European artists. And it's a lovely, sort of gritty, emotional, cynical feel that I think you can find in a lot of works, be it comic books, TV series, films, or video games that are produced in Eastern Europe. Something about our shared experience does translate into the work. And I can sort of tell, like, an Eastern European person contributed. Unless it's, well, I've been asked to center on sci-fi, but in Serbia, actually, folklore-based fantasy is more popular. And we have seen commercial attempts to make like Slavic folklore sort of based works. I have to say I haven't liked any of them, but that just may not be my cup of tea. Because I come from a background of like if it looks like a fairy tale, it's for children. So it must not be very good. And that's a mentality that needs to be sort of eroded before we get into like proper mainstream international successes for like Serbian superstars. We'll not get a Serbian superstar, but maybe we'll get some very renowned Eastern European creators in any sort of media. I hope I've answered your question. If I've gone on a ramble, please correct me. It's fine. All right. Anybody else? Please.
Fantastic, and it had its zest and personality. And what happened to
Those are very good questions. And I will address the first part first, if you don't mind. So why have I focused on the winners? I think that's a very interesting choice of words on your part. I don't see these people as winners necessarily. I see them as having international appeal. I'm not talking about winners in terms of worth or artistic merit. I have focused on commercially viable things. What I did mean to say, and they probably haven't come across very strongly, is all of these people started off as random members of random fandom associations. And we do produce a lot more, for lack of a worse and more odious word, content than this. I've selected things that I know have international appeal because I was addressing an audience that comes from a country that I don't know and a culture that I don't know about. So I've selected what I've selected, partly based on my taste and partly based on what I thought would appeal to the audience. I could have gone more underground. Possibly I should have. Can you please repeat the second part of the question? What happened to the...
What happened to old Serbian animation school, for example, School of Zagreb?
All right, so, yeah, sorry, so I just need a refresher. Right. I was asked to represent Serbian fandom. I have loads of friends in Croatia, and I know loads of people professionally who are in the creative arts of some kind in Croatia and Bosnia. And at least one in Montenegro. And I was asked to tell the story of the Serbian fandom. The Croatian fandom is their story. There is there's at least one professional animation studio in Zagreb that I know of. It's still operational. There's at least two in Belgrade that I know of, and Belgrade is a big part of Serbia, but it's not all of Serbia. There might be loads of other people that I would have or could have mentioned that I just don't know. So we do have the International Comics Festival in Serbia, which favors Serbian or regional authors. We have an International Animation Festival in Serbia, which favors students of the animation school, and so on and so forth. Well, if you invite me next year, I will bring some of their original work. Some of it is really good. But the thing is, when people are working on their passion projects, they are most often working on their own. So the most remarkable thing about an animation that I could have shown you would have been, this is all the work of one person over weeks and weeks of nights of sleepless nights and loads and loads of man hours or woman hours or like animation hours of work. They would have looked unique, they would have looked interesting, they would have looked cheap. I wanted to show you how people who start off doing passion projects can sometimes, rarely, grow into respected professionals and also just professionals in a line of work that just involves art or just involves writing. And I would not have expected such a career opportunity to exist when I was young for a person from Eastern Europe. So I may have done an injustice to my very many friends who are underground comics authors or student animators and so on. But well, there's always next year. I can bring some more stuff. There's loads. There's literally loads. I've just selected for what I felt was asked of me. Anybody else? I hope I answered your question. I hope you are satisfied with the answer. All right. Well, Stefan introduced me as a lawyer, and I can tell you that the law happened. The way the films are financed by the state changed, and we don't get a lot of old authors getting funds for anything that's remotely like unique or artistic. We do get a lot of funds diverted to, I'll say, politically motivated projects. And the Serbian mainstream cinema now does not appeal to me at all. And there are no very many opportunities to do genre cinema like there were maybe 15 or 10 years ago, which is where most of the films that I've showcased come from. You just can't get any money to do any work that's like pretends to be like a commercial cinema film. What you can get money for is just bland and sort of patriotic in a pedestrian way. But you do have the Serbian Fantasy Film Festival, and you can send anything towards that. Will get you some media attention, and it will get you possibly screened elsewhere in Europe and the world. So there's that. Oh, and watch The She Butterfly if you haven't already. You will like it. It's a sort of a cliche vampire story, but it's really, really very good. All of my class in elementary school couldn't sleep when that was aired when we were like 7 or 8. But do bear in mind, it's a made-for-TV film. You can watch it on YouTube with English subtitles for free. It's good. It's very good for what it is. You will not, your socks will not be blown off. All right. Anybody else with anything else? No? All right then. That was me. Thank you very much for having me. It's been a lovely time.
Thank you, Miloš, for coming and having this presentation. And let's have a break, and then we will move on to the next presentation by Miloš Jovanović here, one of the ones who emigrated, so he's part of the brain drain. So he's to Bucharest. So yeah, thanks for staying and thanks for being here. Thanks.
Links to their Instagram pages. Writing is difficult. Writing needs translation. Visual arts do not. So just hit me up if you want any links to any Serbian creators' artwork. I'm here for them and for you.